Thank you so much, Margaret. I really appreciate it. And welcome to everyone here. Margaret invited me to speak about Dhikr, which is the Sufi practice of remembering God with every breath. But the actual fact of it is that I don't know what Dhikr is. In fact, nobody can know what Dhikr is because it's not something that happens with the eye. Dhikr is actually going on all the time. And it's really a question of whether we can bring ourselves into the consciousness of remembering God with every breath. Dhikr as communication with God. It's speech within speech and breath within breath. If you've ever looked at birds outside, when they eat, they're completely silent. You know, they talk a lot in the morning, they make their sounds. It's a kind of bird Dhikr, if you will. But when they eat, they're completely silent and they're really absorbed. They're very focused. They're very concentrated. And that kind of beginning intention, um, the beginning intention of just seeking within your own heart with absolute trust and patience and faith and alhamdulillah, which is absolute praise of the divine, is the quality that one needs to bring into this practice. And I came I came to Sufism quite a long time ago, and there are things that we all experience in our lives that just completely break us open. And sometimes they're very unexpected. Sometimes they're coincidental. Sometimes they don't seem to make a natural fit with what we think our lives have been before. And they're often very, very mysterious. So I kind of discovered my teacher on this path by a really circuitous and strange story, which is that I was taking a course on the comparative traditions of religion associated with dreams and dreaming at Harvard Divinity School many years ago. And the professor was showing these images from a medieval manuscript about the prophet's divine ascent and meeting with God face to face, his mystical union with the divine. And they're incredible images of angels with multicolored wings, super saturated images of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam riding on the horse Burak, a mythological beast that brings him on this journey. And I'm an artist. I was very familiar with images, but I found myself somehow at the height of this lecture. It was simply a lecture in a lecture hall, just sobbing. Something really broke open within me. And somehow it was just triggered to awaken some deep longing that I experienced inside my heart. And I really didn't know what was happening. And I began to just inquire. And I found that I needed to write the final paper for this class about the Prophet's Miraj. And I ended up, coming into this practice. And I just wanted to sort of share something about my teacher because he, um, by a sort of strange coincidence, I became connected with a contemporary Sufi saint from Sri Lanka as a result of this happening and this kind of feeling of the heart breaking open. And his name is Mohammed Rahim Bawa Muhaiyaddeen. He passed away in 1986. And his shrine is located about an hour outside of Philadelphia, and it's open to the public, so anyone can go and visit if you would like to. But I think, if we're speaking about Dhikr and what he taught, I think the essence of it is to really crack open the shell of your heart. One of the Sufi stories that he told is in Sri Lanka, there are, coconut trees. And if you break them open, what seems very hard on the surface, like a heart, sometimes it really has to be broken, like what I experienced kind of without even knowing what was happening. But that feeling, and I'm sure all of us have experienced it in different ways, of the heart breaking open and sobs coming out or joy coming out. All kinds of different levels and layers of our human experience emerge from that. And so in this story, if you break open the shell of the coconut, there's sort of a first layer of the flesh of the coconut. And if you scrape that and you mix it with water, it makes a very beautiful, sweet paste. And if you keep on churning it, there are different levels and layers of what can be done with, the meat of the coconut, with the sweetness of the coconut. Eventually, it could become solidified into an oil and used for all kinds of purposes. So just like that, there are different levels and layers of the zikr. There are out loud zikrs that speak to the 99 names of Allah, the Asma'ul Husna, they're called, all the beautiful names of Allah, and there's actually 100th secret name. But if you really realize and bring these different qualities like compassion or patience or wisdom, Ya Hakim, subtlety, Ya Latif, if you bring these names and realize these qualities into action within yourself, then what happens is that the names themselves disappear, and there aren't any longer names for the divine. There's only these qualities that exist that pass through our own lives and emerge. So, zikr, it means many things. It means the remembrance of God, but it also means to melt like wax into the light and power of God. Um, the highest form of zikr is silent zikr, in which you say nothing at all. You don't repeat any names. All the names have become silent within you. And the highest is La ilaha. There's nothing else except for God. Illallahu. Only you exist, O God. So in this silent zikr, and in all the zikrs, which are always going on, it's not like we can actually do them ourselves. The zikr is always happening. And with every in-breath, you take in the divine with great love, with every breath. And on the exhale, you release out everything that is not God. So every thought that you're holding on to, every idea you have about yourself, anything that's preventing you or separating you from the divine, the intention, niyat, is to let that go on the exhale. And on the inhale, draw in the melting love and power of the divine. So la ilaha illallahu. And to remember God with every breath is this communication with God, this speech within speech, this breath within breath. So That's a little bit. It's it's something that I wanted to share with a recording that was done. It's a very early recording of Bawa Muhaiyaddeen. Um, and it was taken in Sri Lanka. Wait a second here. I'm just going to play a little bit of it, but I think you can hear in the sound of it this sense of intense love and focus, and you see what you find in it yourselves. Alhamdulillah, 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 Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, 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 Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, 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 Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, 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 Alhamdulillah. I wanted to just give you a taste. This phrase, Alhamdulillah, it means absolute praise and joy and gratitude in the divine. Alhamdulillah. And it's also the word, in the esoteric aspects of Sufism, the heart, in fact, the heart within the heart, which is called the qalb, is made out of 5 letters, Alif, Lam, Mim, Ha, and Dal of the Arabic alphabet. And these letters basically speak the praise of God. So Alif, Lam, Mim, Ha, and Dal. Aleph is Allah, Lam is light, Mim is the kind of realized human being, Ha is the 99 names of Allah that kind of create a house for the soul, and Dal is the world with all of its illusions and difficulties. So all of these are in the heart within the heart. And when you say it all together, it's Alhamdulillah, which is the heart that is praising God. So on this path, the goal is to transform oneself into this, the body that is the prayer of gratitude to the divine, gratitude and praise. So, what I'd like to do is share with you some of the repetitions of these phrases. And one question might be, well, why are all these phrases repeated? What is the repetition that happens here? And oftentimes, tasbihs, or these beads, are used to try to help one repeat the names. So they're similar in a way to the rosaries in the Christian tradition. But the repetition, really, if one said any name of God with absolute concentration, you would disappear inside it, and nothing but God would be present. So the repetitions are really to try to get there, essentially, to help the mind relax and let go of all its incrustations, all the attachments that we have, to come into a state where in a sense the mind goes to sleep and you can be in a place of total concentration and go deeper and deeper and deeper into your own heart, into all these layers that I was talking about, like the layers of the coconut shell within. So I'd like to just try for a moment, just try closing your eyes and try saying this word, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, the praise of God. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, 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 Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. So what you might notice if you recite for, you could recite it for 3 times, for 1 time, for 11 times, 33 times, 99 times. Oftentimes it can be recited for thousands of times. But what you might notice is that your state of mind changes as you continue with it. And so you end up peeling off layers of um, layers of yourself in search of the truth within yourself. And I wanted to share one other. Um, this is kind of the central the central zikr, which is La ilaha. There's nothing except for you, O God. Illallahu. Only you exist. You alone exist. So you can do this, in my tradition, the exhale is on the left nostril. So you can even hold your right nostril and just as you're exhaling, you kind of visualize, through your whole body, starting at your feet, coming up and out through the left nostril. And you're really just letting go of everything, all ideas, anything previous, anything from the beginning part of the day. And then inhale through through the right nostril, very gently, really concentrated on drawing love of God and truth and goodness and everything good, very gently with great love in through the right nostril. So for the last, maybe 5 minutes, we can try this. And I would advise maybe just closing your eyes very gently and just do whatever's comfortable. If the visualization doesn't make sense or you're not sure, then just drop it. But basically, exhaling through the left, inhaling through the right. And when you exhale, just concentrate on letting everything that's no longer serving the highest goal of your life to release. And then on the inhale, inhale very gently as though you're inviting um, a king into your house and you're a gracious host. So let's just try this for about 5 minutes. La ilaha illallahu. La ilaha illallahu. La ilaha illallahu. So when you're trying to mine for diamonds, um, it's quite amazing because if you've ever seen a bowl full of, you know, rocks, unless you're really, really observant, you can't know if they're just rocks, if they haven't been faceted and shined. They just seem like useless little rocks. So it takes a whole lot of training over a lot of time, and you use different materials and different tools to wash the rocks and to flake off everything that's not the brilliance of the diamond. And you might have a special tool that will help facet the diamonds into different shapes that best show their incredible reflectivity and beauty. And so it's amazing because at each phase, you know, somebody might just throw away a rock that's covered with grime, you know. But what if that rock is really your heart? So this whole work is, a way to kind of work with the heart and take everything away that isn't the truth of the divine brilliance and light that's always there and always shining within it. And the Dhikr, likewise, is always within the heart, ongoing with the resonance of the divine, the resonance of Allah. And so the Dhikr is really this work of clearing away everything else that isn't your true shining brilliance and light and reality. So I wanted to just read you a couple of words. I know that Sufism might not be familiar to everyone, and I just wanted to read the definition of what what my teacher describes a Sufi as being. So he says a Sufi, and there are different definitions, but in this case, Sufi is one who has merged in God and whose actions and words are God's actions and words, one who has unconditional love for all. So anyone who's on this path would never claim to be a Sufi because that in itself would be a kind of arrogance, but really it's something to aspire to. It takes, many, 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 many lifetimes, many lifetimes. So yeah, but what would it be really to have a heart that could have unconditional love for everyone? Not the heart only within your own body, but a heart that's so clear and open to the light of its truth that it's utterly transparent and beyond transparent. And in fact, it's the heart of everything that is. So that's ultimately what Zikr is pointing us towards. So thank you, everyone. And I'm happy to do my best to answer questions. I hope that, um, that this was helpful as an introduction.
Thank you, Kythe. Can you maybe talk to us a little bit about, I think one of the fascinating things that we're finding by sharing our traditions across so many different traditions is that some of us have been brought up to think of the divine as very separate from us, that there is divine and there is human.
Mm.
And some traditions have a very deep understanding of the divine and human are one.
Mm.
And then there are other traditions that understand this through the practice of prayer and polishing, as you're saying, we come closer and closer to being one with the divine. So as I've understood it, and you say Dhikr, and I understand there's different ways to pronounce that as well. We've heard Dhikr before. That is along the lines of we do not boast to be one with the divine, but our practice is that we might attain that. Does that sound close?
Well, I think that it's, you know, like there's so much humility required on the spiritual path, and anyone who's really truly on a path, and I'm sure all of you are in whatever way your heart is leading you, but honestly, it usually, like people only go for this really tough work of trying to find the truth of their own lives if their lives have in some way been devastated. And so usually you start from a place where your life has broken open or your heart has broken open. And that's really just the first layer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think incredible humility is required, you know? There's a lot of, it's difficult to be a human being. It's very difficult. Like we're constantly dealing with losses of different kinds and disappointments, or a lot of everybody has their own secret storm going on inside their lives. And, you know, I can never know what's really happening with any of you. But what I do know is that there's an incredible thirst and an incredible hunger for a depth of engagement with our own lives. And how do you do that with genuine honesty? And how do you find a path that's really going to take you inside your heart so that you can find whatever you understand to be as the divine, you know? And I feel like, you know, certainly there are many different paths or different frameworks for understanding that, different languages, different people coming from different backgrounds. But I feel like that longing to come to some deep, you know, understanding and presence with whatever you think of as divine, you know, whether that's the earth, whether that's, you know, some understanding of God. You know, there are many different ways, but I think what's human is this longing that we have to have a deeper relationship with our own lives, which are so short, you know?
Thank you. And a remembrance also that the breath itself in all of these practices, no matter what tradition we're talking about, the breath itself is understood to be the divine. The breath, the spiritus, the spirit itself, the very act of breathing, giving us life, is divine in and of itself. But thank you for sharing this practice with us.
That's so, yeah, it's beautiful the way you were just speaking about the breath. I would love to hear any questions that people have. I'm sure there's a lot in what I said that wasn't familiar, and I appreciate you all so much for being present with this offering and, you know, experiencing it yourselves.
Thank you. I'm going to turn off the recording and you all can put yourselves back on gallery view. And for those of you who'd like to stay for a bit to chat, you're most welcome to. And if not, we've been delighted to share this space with you all.